Good evening. Testing, testing. I assume we're ready. Good evening, everybody. Today is May the 28th, 2020. Hard to believe this summer is going by so quickly. It is 6:05, and we are here to conduct what we call a public hearing related to the approval or the renewal of a charter school application. A lot of people think that the Board of Education is involved in the approval of charter schools, or we have something to do with the running of charter schools. Since I got you here, those that are listening, that is not true. All the state law allows the Board of Education, local boards of education to do is to conduct public hearings. That's to give people an opportunity to be aware that a particular organization is trying to start a charter school or renew their application. But that's pretty much where our responsibility begins and ends. We convene these hearings. People, including the people that are sponsoring the charter school, come in and speak if they want. And citizens, interested citizens, can speak to these proposed charter schools and the renewals. 9 times out of 10, nobody comes. I'm just keeping it real with you. Nobody comes, not even the people that are applying for the charter school, because the reality is they understand that this Rochester School District, the Board of Education, has no authority to approve or disapprove of these applications. But because the law requires them, and because the law rightly vehicle, we are the venue for them to do that. So as part of that responsibility, I'm going to read to you some mandatory language so that everybody understands what this is about. But basically, I've just told you what this is about. So here we go. The Education Law, Subdivision 2857, Subdivision 1, and the regulations of the Commissioner of Education require the board to conduct a public hearing within 30 days of the receipt of a notice of an application for a new or revised charter school. The Board of Education of the Rochester City School District is conducting for True North Rochester Preparatory Charter School within the City of Rochester. The purpose of this hearing is to gather community input to provide to the New York State Department of Education regarding this renewal application. If approved, the renewal for True North Rochester Preparatory Charter School, located at 899 J Street, Rochester, New York, 14611, 630 Brooks Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14619, and 305 Andrews Street, Rochester, New York, 14604, is chartered to serve 1,483 students in grades K through 12 for the 2021 school year, the final year of the current charter term. According to the renewal application, the school would serve 1,405 students in grades K through 12. Indicate to people if they'd like to speak on this subject, they can. My understanding is that no one has signed up to speak, and you would have had to, given the fact we're in this new normal. You'd have to sign up to speak through Zoom. Madam Clerk, is it correct that we don't have any speakers?
That is correct. We have no speakers.
And unless somebody, one of my colleagues, wants to speak up on this particular topic, I am going to adjourn and close the hearing related to True North Preparatory Charter School. It is now 6:09. We had that hearing within a record time, 4 minutes. Madam Superintendent, I'm sure you'd like to see some of our meetings work that efficiently. All right, but we have another hearing that we have to do, and that relates to True North. Same rationale, same thinking applies to the purpose of this hearing, but the law says I have to, the regulations say I have to provide this written explanation as to the purpose behind this particular hearing. So again, today is May the 28th, 2020. It is now 6:09 p.m. and I am convening a charter school public hearing relating to True North Preparatory Charter School, the West Campus. As I indicated earlier, the Education Law, Subdivision 2857, Subdivision 1, and the regulations of the Commissioner of Education require the Board of Education to conduct a public hearing within 30 days of the receipt of the notice of an application for a new or a revised charter school application. The Board of Education of the Rochester City School District is conducting this public hearing regarding the renewal application for True North campus that this hearing relates to. The purpose of this hearing is to gather community input and to provide the New York State Department of Education information it may need regarding the renewal application for True North Rochester Preparatory Charter School West Campus. If approved, the renewal for True North Rochester Preparatory Charter School, the West Campus, will be located at 85 St. Jacob Street, Rochester, New York, 14621, and 432 Chilai Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14611. It will serve 810 students in grades K through 8 for the 2021 school year, the final year of the current charter term. According to the renewal application, the school would serve 807 students in grades K through 8. Madam Clerk, I understand that there is no one who is registered to speak for this public hearing?
That is correct, President White.
All right, well, I guess it is now 6:11, and I will adjourn this particular public hearing as it relates to True North Rochester Preparatory Charter School, the West Campus. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you diehard charter public hearing fans, we have one more. Same rules apply, and I am required by law to convene that hearing, and it is now 6:12. It's still May the 28th, 2020. And this particular public hearing relates to, looks like, give me one second. Rochester Preparatory Charter School number 3. Sorry about that, folks. The Rochester Education Law, as you will know by now, section 2857, subdivision 1, and the regulations of the Commission of Education require that the Board of Education the receipt of a notice of an application for a new or revised charter school application. The Board of Education of the Rochester School District, which is us, is conducting this very hearing for that purpose, to examine the application of renewal for Rochester Preparatory Charter School number 3, which is going to exist within the city of Rochester. The purpose of this hearing is to gather information from the community to provide to New York State Department of Education regarding that renewal application. If approved, the renewal for the Rochester Preparatory Charter School number 3, located at 85 St. Jacob Street in the city of Rochester, zip code 14621, is chartered to serve 576 students in grades K through 4 for the 2021 school year, the final year of the current charter term. According to the renewal application, the school would grow to serve 807 students in grades K through 8. Madam Clerk, is there anybody who's registered to speak on this topic?
No one is registered to speak.
I do have one comment, and my comment would be directed to our new superintendent, Dr. Leslie Myers. You know that, this is just my comment, this is a competition to provide the best educational services for our students, and we should be in on that. And the reason why these schools exist is because sometimes, many times, parents felt we weren't doing the right by their students. We can reverse this trend. These folks have every right to go out and create charter schools, but we have every right to compete effectively and provide the citizens of this community the kind of schools that would make them say, hey, I don't need to go to a charter school. We're in this work. I know that's why our thousands of employees are in this work, and I know, as I know my colleagues well, I know that's why they are serving on the Board of Education. And while we want our citizens to have choices, I'm here to tell you, we want Rochester City School District schools to be their #1 choice. And I know, Dr. Myers, you will get us there. So that's my comment. Since nobody else was commenting, I thought I'd do that. Dr. Myers, did you want to respond to that, or no, it's okay if you don't want to?
President White, I actually did want to respond. Of the varied media interviews that I had, I believe it was when I was on Evan Dawson's show, I actually was asked that question about charter schools. And I said, whereas I cannot control what applications go forward, that you all have to have public hearings on, and then the state approves or doesn't approve. My job is to fortify our district pre-K through 12 and make us, as you said, a viable option, a meaningful option that provides all of our scholars the education that they need to be successful for whatever that next step is. So my job is to certainly be mindful of the applications, but more importantly, I have to focus on what we're doing in Rochester. So that's my take and that's my perspective.
I knew that would be your answer, and I'm glad you shared that with the community. I think I don't know what your time frame is, but I know everybody's expectation and hope and prayer is that we can have those kinds of choices where people, if they want to still go to charter schools, they can. But I think there's probably a good portion that if we gave them additional choices and they had greater confidence, I think they might think twice about that. And so I look forward to that happening, and I believe it's going to happen. So anybody else want to speak out? Probably not. All right. Well, I think I adjourned that last public hearing. If I didn't, I'm doing so. No, I didn't. I'm adjourning that last public hearing. And for you folks that are interested in seeing the Board of Education conduct its normal business, we will do that at 6:30. But you have to re-sign in. Is that right, Madam Clerk? Oh, it's going to be right here?
No, sir, you can stay right here and we'll be back on at 6:30.
All right. So until 6:30, I will see folks in about 15 minutes.
Sounds
Thanks.
good.
Testing. Good evening, everybody. Today is May the 28th, 2020, and you are at a meeting of the Rochester City School District Board of Education. It is now 6:31 p.m. and we've got a lot of business tonight, but as we always do, we begin each meeting with an act of reverence and a pledge to our flag. In terms of the act of reverence, doesn't escape anybody that this was a very difficult week for our nation. And that pain and that frustration is felt at every level of government: the United States, New York State, the county, and the city, and all of the county's towns. We know that COVID has devastated these communities, and we reached a sad and tragic milestone this week of 100,000 deaths from COVID. We've talked about on it. We've had moments of silence regarding it, and there really isn't much more to be said, except that we continue to pray and hope that God and family and all of your support systems get you through this. And to the extent that the Board of Education can be part of that support system, we pray for the wisdom and strength to be there for you. We've identified a number of our heroes that have been there bringing you food, making sure your children have computers, making sure that there is continuing instruction going on. All of that is our way, as best we can, to provide you the support that you need to make it through these very difficult times. So on behalf of the Board of Education, the Superintendent of Schools, the Independent Monitor, and the thousands and thousands and thousands of employees that are working daily to make life a little bit more meaningful in a very difficult time, we are here for you. Now, why don't we just flip our attention to our flag and recite, if you choose to join me, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do want to, and I know all my colleagues and the Independent Monitor and the Superintendent and every member of the Board of Education and all those thousands of employees also join me in sending our thoughts and prayers to those in the state of Missouri they face. We recognize, I think most of us do, that this challenge of racism and police abuse and excessive use of force is nothing new in America. And our charge as educators is to not only inform all people of this challenge so that they are equipped to deal with it, but to make sure that people don't grow, even in our educational systems, ignorant of the devastating effect of racism. So please join the Board of Education and every one of our employees in sending your thoughts and prayers to those who have suffered an immediate loss that is also suffering from that thing called racism that just doesn't seem to go away. And it won't unless we as educators and as parents and as community leaders do our part in advance of it happening. All right, so we have first order of business is to welcome Shelley Jallo. Dr. Jallo, did I pronounce that right? Are you there?
Yes, I am here. You have pronounced it correctly. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of the Board of Education, let me just say welcome. We are blessed to have you here. And for those of you who don't know, Dr. Jallo is our independent monitor. I can tell you that one of the first things that she did is she called me up, and then I know she's calling up board members. I'm keep it real with you, just as you did with me. It was a good conversation. I felt like at least for me, and I know my colleagues will have that opportunity, it felt like it was a very comfortable conversation. And that people will tell you, I don't always say that about people, but I feel very fortunate that you're here with us, and I just want to, on behalf of the board, welcome you. And I know you'll have a lot to say, and you got a lot of work to do, but if you want to say something now, you can, but if not, that's cool too. But welcome.
I'll make it very brief because your
Okay.
your agenda looks like it's kind of long. So I just wanted to say good evening. Very, very happy to be here. I've been here since Tuesday morning. Been able to meet most of your executive cabinet and some who are not on executive cabinet, and have worked really closely with your superintendent, and have absolutely had a fantastic welcome and a great time, and been working pretty hard. Even had a chance to go out and see many of your schools today, which I really appreciated, to kind of ground me in the work that we need to do. So I look forward to meeting with each of you individually and working with you together to improve outcomes for our students. So with that, I'll let the meeting continue on. I look forward to meeting each of you.
And you notice she already said our students.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So thank you, and again, welcome. All right,
you.
next item on our agenda is we have to approve the minutes of our meetings. For those of you who maybe tune in for the first time, we have lots of meetings at Board of Education. Somebody, our staff, take great notes about those meetings, and we have to record them, and we have to approve those minutes. So I need a motion to approve the minutes, business meetings from April 23rd, 2020, and the Finance Committee meetings from March and April of 2020. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Been moved by Commissioner Malloy. Good evening, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Good evening, Commissioner Adams. There's a second from Commissioner Adams. All those in favor of approving those minutes as described, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And just a reminder, our clerk told us we have to be visual for the vote. So unless you stop me, Madam Clerk, I'm just assume you got the visuals that you need, okay?
I got them,
those-
thank you.
Those minutes have been approved. Next item on the agenda is speakers. Now, you know, since we've gone into this new normal, we take our speakers through Zoom. The clerk tells us that there are no speakers today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And for those of you who want to sign up for future meetings, Madam Clerk, briefly, could you describe what the process is?
So anyone interested in speaking can send an email to boardofeducation@rcsdk12.org. And the lines are open until 12 noon of the day of the meeting. So you can send an email, and then you will receive the link to come on to the Zoom meeting and speak. And we enjoy and we welcome to have our community speak to the board. So welcome.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. Next item on the agenda is Advisory Council reports. I understand that our Parent Advisory Council and our Bilingual Educational Council are not meeting during this time, or we don't have reports from them, and that's okay. I will tell you they do great work during the course of the year. For those of you, just to bring everybody up to date, the Parent Advisory Council is in a bit of a transition. Dr. Myers will have to I'm sure you've been brought up to speed by staff, but we're hoping to get that advisory council reinvigorated by September after a brief lapse. But I'm sure Dr. Myers, you have people working on that. And the Bilingual Council is always there reporting at our board meetings, but just haven't during this last couple meetings. But we do have our Student Leadership Congress report. Tatiana, I understand that you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Before you give us your report, how's school going?
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, learning online is definitely interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and give us your report?
All right. Tonight I will be reporting on Student Leadership Congress May meeting. For our icebreaker, we were asked this question. If you had the ability to write one check for your school or the district, what would the check be for? We had to share why we selected the one thing about our school and our reasons for choice. I lightly updated the Congress on my recent activities of taking 2 AP exams online. I also talked about my recent viewing of the George Floyd video that took place on Tuesday and how that affected me. Everyone went around and shared the following. How have you been doing? How is school going? And are there any personal challenges they need help with? Sadly, our school year is coming to an end, so the question was asked on how we should schedule meetings for next school year. Since some schools are changing starting and end times, we decided to keep the meetings on the same day of the week, and around the same time of the month. Most students feel like the current day and times don't interfere with other school activities such as sports and clubs. On June 17th, SOC will be having our yearly elections for anyone who would like to serve as president, vice president, and other officers such as the students on the school-based planning team for next school year. We had a very good open discussion on the recent death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. I quickly went over the incident that I saw in the video to students that had not seen or heard about it. Then we were asked as leaders what should be done to help stop issues like these. I believe continuing to educate people and shedding light on these issues to the youth as they grow up can help stop this mindset that people are better than others and demanding justice for the people that have lost their lives from police brutality. We were then asked how we felt about SROs and schools since the decision is being made on if they should stay or leave buildings. Feelings are mutual in this discussion. That some believe they can be helpful to buildings, there can be a positive relationship between citizens and police officers, but for some students, it can also be very traumatizing to be around someone in complete uniform with a firearm, taser, and pepper spray on a daily basis. This may not be normal for some students around the country. After this heavy discussion, we lightly covered what plans may be in place for the upcoming Juneteenth. Since the celebration has been canceled due to COVID-19, students are going to discuss ideas for Juneteenth prior to our next check-in meeting on June 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. You reminded me, I think I might have said Missouri, but it is Minnesota, where I believe Mr. Floyd passed away. So the young ones will always lead us. So thank you, Tatiana, for correcting me on that. It is, yes.
Do you mind if I just say something to Tatiana very briefly when you're done?
Absolutely. No, you go ahead.
Okay, Tatiana, I am certainly looking forward to meeting you. Thank you for sharing the update this evening at the board meeting. But what I'll do is I'd like to reach out to you and talk with you over the next few days and just get to know you a little bit and do another check-in with you and just introduce myself to you as the superintendent. But thank you for that, and I look forward to meeting you.
Same.
Okay,
Tatiana, did you have a chance to read the packet? Should I seek an advisory vote from you or no?
I lightly viewed it. I wasn't sure exactly. The majority of what I've seen was like things that don't really involve me, so I wasn't sure exactly like where my advisory vote be included.
So just so that you know why I asked, our board has, of course, Tatiana. She's our student leader on the board. The bylaws say that we can and should take advisory votes from our student leader, but we got to make sure that she has the necessary information, and so we want to make sure that she feels comfortable. So I won't be asking for an advisory vote from her tonight, but I try to, when I can, make sure we get that from her, but I want to make sure that she has all the material. So I won't do that. I won't ask you about that. But Tatiana, let me again thank you for correcting me on my geography. George Floyd is from Minnesota. The sad thing here is, and you point this out in your comments, this is happening all too frequently in our nation. And people think that, some people think that this is an aberration or it's unusual. I will tell folks, people probably don't remember his name, Lawrence Rogers. Anybody remember that name? Wegmans parking lot, suffocated by members of the Rochester Police Department and Rochester General Hospital. That case, very similar, very, very similar. And I litigated that case. This is nothing new in this nation. I heard somebody say You know, they talk about COVID being an infection, something that is going through our country. Racism has been going on a lot longer than that, and 100,000 lives is way too many, but I would imagine we've lost a lot more through racism. And the truth may hurt some people to hear that, but that's the truth. And we have to work on that as aggressively as we worked on COVID. So thank you, Tatiana, for reminding, and I'm glad that the students are having that kind of conversation. So next item on the agenda is President's report. I usually send out emails so you all know what's going on pretty regularly. My last email was pretty recently. I talked about my meeting with Dr. Jallo and how good that was. So I don't have a President's report. I try to keep you all up to date on things as they happen. Next item on the agenda is the Finance Resource Allocation Report. Let's see, we have April, Commissioner LeBron, are you here to present that report?
Yes.
All right.
All right. The Finance Committee convened Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 as the Committee of the Whole via Zoom video conferencing. The Finance Committee recommends approval of the district's unaudited April 2020 financial report and the third quarter student activity funds and elementary activity accounts report. Can I get a motion to move those now?
So moved.
Second.
Marisol, did you capture those?
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
I don't have the full screen. I only have Van on my little screen right now. But all right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, so those pass. I think they pass. Again, I can't see everyone.
You're all set.
All right, thank you. And then the 2021 budget calendar upcoming events that we still have are the joint budget hearings with City Council Wednesday, June 10th at 3:30 to 5:30. That is public and will be Zoomed. And then the city's budget approval Tuesday, June 16th. And the next Finance Committee meeting is June 9th, 2020. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Are there any questions for Commissioner LeBron on her finance report? I don't see any. So Audit Committee.
One quick second. The minutes for the Finance Committee need to also be approved.
Van
They were
actually
already
did that.
approved.
Yeah, he already did that, Kalia.
It was done in the beginning of the meeting.
Thanks.
Yep, no worries. All right, Audit Committee report, Commissioner Powell.
Yes, hi. My report hasn't loaded to board docs yet, so I'll read it into the record. The committee met as a committee of the whole on Tuesday, May 19th. The committee met with Fried Maxick, it was Ms. Barrett, Catherine Barrett, the external auditor, to review the independent external audit plan for the year ending June 30, 2020. The board reviewed the audit objectives, reporting timelines, organization, and industry developments that will affect the audit risk assessment, and audit approach with Fried Maxick. Audit fieldwork will begin in early June and is expected to be completed in October 2020. The board anticipates receipt of a draft comprehensive annual financial report, or CAFR, in November 2020, and the final CAFR will be approved in December 2020 and filed by the required January 1st reporting deadline. I don't have the date of our next meeting, but I do hope that it will be expedited, because we were, our meeting was abbreviated in order to make room for other pressing business with all the changes these days. So that concludes my audit committee report.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Next item on the agenda is are there any questions for Commissioner Powell? All right. I neglected to mention earlier on to put on the record that Commissioner Shepard is out ill today. We hope for her a speedy recovery. I think she's kind of listening in, so Again, we hope that you get better, Commissioner Shepard. And Vice President Elliott is on vacation. So just wanted to record that for our records. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Myers?
Sure, thank you. Would you put the brief PowerPoint up on the screen, please, and thank you. Thank you. So just a few May updates. If you go to the next slide, just 4 areas that I'd like to touch on. The first thing certainly is to welcome Dr. Jallo. You can go to the next slide. Is to welcome Dr. Jallo. She is, as President White said, our independent monitor here at the Rochester City School District. She, just for our listeners watching, or our viewers watching, she does report directly to the Commissioner of Education. And the few short days that she's been here, we've been working quite collaboratively. Her focus and emphasis is on school turnaround and leadership. She will provide oversight and technical assistance to myself, the Board of Education, and other staff relative to 2 very specific areas, and that's fiscal and academic oversight. She will be working with us to develop academic and financial improvement plans, and they must be submitted by November of each year. Most recently, Dr. Jallo served as a Senior Director of School Improvement in the Learning Innovations Program at West Ed. She has vast classroom and administrative experience, and she is a graduate of St. John Fisher College, earning her doctorate. So welcome, Dr. Jallo. The next, what did you say, Commissioner LeBron? I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything, but I'm a Fisher alumni too, so holler
Okay.
to St. John Fisher.
Go.
Cardinals. The second.
Someone has to mute themselves. I don't know who.
Can you hear me now okay? Okay, great. So next slide. The second area that I'd like to talk about is something that I shared with the board member, the commissioners, and that's graduation. We know that this is a huge milestone for our scholars in the Rochester City School District and beyond. And so I am just proud to share an overview of what is going to be happening. Many people might not know that we have 15 schools and programs that are hosting commencement ceremonies during the month of June. They go all the way from June 8th through June 27th. And what I'm very, very pleased with is that there was a lot of input from students, getting feedback from them about what they'd like to see. We know that these past few months have been very difficult for them with COVID-19, and they just unfortunately did not get to participate in person, some of the hallmarks of your senior year, right? The prom, getting your yearbook, etc. So our administrators really were hard at work trying to make sure that these ceremonies were meaningful. We have ceremonies that serve anywhere from 3 students to 250 students. But we also know that there are very strict guidelines and expectations around that. We are adhering to those guidelines. So depending on the school, and I sent a draft home to the Board of Education over the weekend, just a few slight modifications. So I'll send that again this Friday in the Friday letter. But in some instances, we have students actually walking through one exit in the building. And as we know, we can only have 10 individuals in a space at a time, but we will adhere to masks and social distancing, but there will be personal contact. Some of our schools are having virtual ceremonies. Some of our schools are hosting parades, Zoom celebrations, outdoor drive-throughs, etc. So I think we have such a wide variety of opportunities and experiences to honor our scholars. So this is very, very exciting, and I'm thrilled to see this happen. I will be recording with the Office of Communications, a personalized message for each one of those 15 schools and programs. And I know that each commissioner is assigned to a school. So we have that information. I know which schools and programs that you're assigned, you know that. But just very excited to update, and we will be communicating through varied mediums to let families know what each school or program will be doing. But this is very, very exciting. So I just wanted to, in advance, reiterate my congratulations to the class of 2020 in the Rochester City School District. My goal, while very ambitious, is to get to every single one in some shape or fashion, because I just think it's that important. So to our commissioners, to our viewers, this is just a brief synopsis of what we will be doing to honor our scholars graduating in the class of 2020. So that's that update. Then the next slide, we just want to give a big thank you to Tony Jackson. If you've seen the door signs for our graduating senior scholars across town, he's responsible for that, not only in Rochester City School District, but across the county. Many of you know, Tony is an Edison Tech graduate, and he's done a lot of this free of charge for us. And so we would be remiss if we did not thank him from the bottom of our hearts for his just his service and honoring of our scholars. So Tony, if you are listening this evening, thank you on behalf of the entire district for providing this recognition venue for our class of 2020. So thank you very, very much. And then the last item that I'd like to share is a congratulations. And this goes to Nazmil. She is graduating from the Bilingual Language and Literacy Academy, and she has a unique story. She was a conjoined twin and was successfully separated from her twin in 2000. And actually, we need to wish her happy birthday, celebrating her birthday. But she is someone who just typifies and exemplifies persistence and just never giving up. She is just an amazing young lady. I have not had the opportunity to meet her. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to do so. She's from the Dominican Republic, and she will be one of our many graduates this year in June. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her and say congratulations, and let our commissioners and our community know one of many students who have persisted, but just wanted to say congratulations. So board commissioners and our viewers tonight, that completes my first of many superintendent reports for Rochester. Thank you.
That was a perfect way to end your first report, recognizing a student who has had an exceptional career in high school and is probably going to have an equally exceptional life. So thank you for pointing that out, because quite often when we're focused on the numbers, which we often are forced to do, and by the way, just so the folks know, our graduation rate is the highest it's been in 20 years. But when you focus on those numbers, you forget the individual students and the great journey that each of them have had. And you know, it's quantity is one thing, but quality is something that we miss. And many of our students, as you point out, Dr. Myers, have exceptional journeys that, you know, to be quite honest, some of our counterparts in the suburbs, and you know this, don't have some of the challenges and have, quite frankly, a lot of the resources that we don't have. So thank you for pointing that out, because, and there's lots and lots of stories, wonderful stories like that in our district. And I appreciate you pointing that out, because sometimes we can get so caught up in the numbers, and I'm one of those people that you forget that there's real quality in what our students are doing and how our staff are getting these folks to the finish line. So thank you for pointing that out.
And that points to just our mission of every student by face and by name. So absolutely, congratulations.
Any questions for Dr. Myers?
Yeah, can I
Or
just,
comment?
yes,
Sure.
Dr. Myers, I'm gonna talk with you separately about that mission and how that was created. And I'm not a fan of it, but I hear what you're saying, and it is currently our mission, but I would love to give you some history from our previous superintendent and how that came to be.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of resolutions. Now, folks watching this perhaps for the first time might find this a bit odd, but there's lots of business that we have to take care of. And the only way the board can, the district can move forward is things have to be put in writing, and they're called resolutions. And those resolutions come from the superintendent, they're recommendations from the superintendent, and they're put in writing, and then the board has to vote on them. Some of those resolutions sometimes have to be discussed confidentially. So at the beginning of this portion of our agenda, I'll ask my colleagues, are there any of the resolutions that you see in front of you that you think you might need to go in executive session on so that I don't call those out? Anybody? Commissioner LeBron?
So there is no number, but I will point out that I sent an email to administration speaking particularly about tenures and us not having any on this in the packet, and was told that legal was going to speak to us tonight in executive session about that.
Okay,
So I just
all
want
right.
to put that out there.
Okay. Anybody else have anything that I should be highlighted to make sure that we don't put up for a vote because it needs to be discussed in executive session? If not, we'll go ahead and call out these resolutions. So we call out these resolutions by motion, folks watching this perhaps for the first time. And we usually do it by blocks of resolutions. So I need from one of my colleagues a motion to advance for conversations resolutions 915, 916, 918, and 920. These are human resource resolutions. Is there a motion?
Motion.
I heard Commissioner Malloy.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Any questions or comments regarding these human resource resolutions? Commissioner LeBron? Yep.
Yeah, I just want to, Bob Franklin is in this resolution, and I just want to thank Bob Franklin for his leadership during a very challenging time for this district, probably one of the biggest challenges the district has faced financially. And I want to wish him well as he heads back to the county. And I probably will continue to reach out to you, Bob, from time to time. I'm just putting it out there because, you know, you're going to be right. You're still our neighbor here. So I just want to thank you for your leadership and your job as the CFO. I enjoyed working with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, very much.
We didn't have you for a long period of time, but her comments are dittoed by me. We appreciate you came for a short period of time, but a very important period of time. And had you not been here, I don't know how we would have managed to get beyond the challenge. So thank you for your service. And seems that you're still going to stay in the business of public service. So you'll be there for the county. So you'll be still there working for us anyway. So we appreciate your service. So I just want to reiterate those comments.
Much appreciated, Mr. President. Thank you.
Sure. All right, Bob, go over there, and what you might want to do is see if they'll send us some more money. No, I'm just joking.
I know their checkbook number. Don't worry.
Okay, all right. Thanks again, Bob. We appreciate it. All right, any questions or comments, any other questions or comments regarding resolutions 915, 916, 918, and 920? There being no further questions or comments, all those in favor of resolutions 915, 916, 918, 920, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Just got to make sure our clerk hears everybody.
I'm all set, thank you.
You're all set? All right. Seems the ayes have it. Next, I need a motion to advance for conversation resolution 927. It is an additional pay resolution. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Second. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments regarding resolution 927? Commissioner LeBron?
Yes, I just have a question as to why we still have additional pay resolutions for times where school is closed and we don't have a start date we don't have a start date for a school opening. So if someone can explain why we have those.
Yes, Commissioner, I can explain those resolutions. This is to exhaust the funds from the Learning Technology Grant. This is going to be 3 parts. Actually, professional development for our administrators, professional development for ongoing professional development for our teachers, but most importantly about the creation of and being able to begin the work for dual credit courses for our students in our Virtual Academy of Rochester. One of them is going to be called Natural Disasters. That is going to be a science elective, so we can begin work on that before the start of the next year. And the next one is going to be Writing in the Environment, and that is going to be an English language, an ELA elective to help students graduate.
And the work will start now for that, Glenn, is what you're saying? The
Yes, it
preparation
will.
and the trainings?
Yes, it will. And I can understand during this time, you may have questions why the instructional technology TOAs can't do this during the regular workday. But with the deployment of MiFis, Chromebooks, RCSD Learns, which is the online resource for our students, continuing working with our families, office hours for teachers to call for support. They are working beyond the regular day, contractual day as it is. So these hours are needed for them to continue work beyond the contractual day to develop these materials.
Any other questions for the administration? There being no further questions, all those in favor of resolution 927, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Madam
all
Clerk,
set.
I apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, all set? You counted 4 votes?
I counted
counted-
5
I'm sorry?
votes.
Oh, you did? Okay, I
Yes.
just heard 3. Okay, all right. Next, I need a motion to discuss resolution 928, revenue anticipation note.
Motion.
Been moved by Commissioner LeBron. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments regarding resolution 928? I see Commissioner LeBron shaking her head no. Anybody else? All right, then let's vote on it. All those in favor of resolution 928 signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item on the agenda is our resolutions 929 through 931. These are procurement and supply resolutions. Is there a motion to advance those for conversation?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second? Come on, help me out now.
Thank you. Second.
Thank you. Mr. Adams. I got you. Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding resolutions 929 through 931? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of resolutions 929 to 931 signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if I froze. Madam Clerk, you got the votes? No?
Nope. I
Okay,
need
so I
everyone to
heard,
say aye,
it's
please.
more important what you heard, but I heard, so I hear 4 ayes then. And so that
good.
is
Thank
a required vote. All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a number of resolutions entitled Educational Facilities. They are resolutions 932 through 948. Is there a motion to advance those educational facilities resolutions for conversation?
Motion.
I'm waiting. Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Any questions or conversation regarding those resolutions entitled Educational Facilities? Commissioner Malloy, I see you raising your hand.
Yes, I have a question just about resolution 934 and 935. They seem to be the same vendor. And one is for like a boiler tube repair versus boiler refractory repair. Don't know what either of those really are. But on one contract, $0 is listed. So it just was a little confusing for me. If someone could maybe just explain why there's a 0 there.
Mike, would you respond to that?
Yes, hold on, my video on here. Sorry about that. Good evening, Commissioners, President White, Vice President Elliott. The the numbers that you see, Commissioner Malloy, for zeros for 17-18 through 19-20 is the expenditures of that service contract for that particular service. So we haven't spent any money in the last 3 years on that, but it is a contract that we keep if we need that particular job on a particular facility.
So we don't have any way of knowing what the costs would be moving forward on that. So I'm assuming this is like for emergency repair work.
Exactly.
How is that type of work calculated? Is that like a per diem rate or an hourly rate? We're not going to be hit with like a surprise of like, $500,000 or anything like this. Do we have any numbers that we can go by?
The past numbers would be an indicator, so we don't anticipate anything out of the ordinary occurring. We did have an issue a couple of years ago with the boilers. Actually, it was almost a year and a half ago now over at the Marshall campus, but that was a much larger number that you were talking about. These service contracts would not be able to fix a large boiler issue like that. We have to go to a different funding source for that. These are just to provide the annual maintenance or an emergency service that would not be a so-called boiler replacement or a large replacement in that order. So it's more for a piece of service that we haven't needed over the last 3 years, but it's like kind of like a life insurance policy. It's good to have.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions or comments regarding those educational facilities resolutions?
Can I ask a
Dan,
question?
what number
Go
does
ahead,
it
I'd
go
like to ask a
Dr.
question.
Jallo.
Go down.
Dr. Jallo, go
How
ahead.
do you know which school? How do you know which school or schools or facility that these apply to? How do you know
There are
that
service contracts that would be.
What building is 940, resolution 940 or 939 assigned to? How does one know that?
So these are service. I'm sorry, I talked over you. My apologies. These are service contracts that would encompass every building within the district. So we have a dollar figure that we have assigned to these particular individual contracts, and we provide maintenance across the district through our team at Hudson Avenue, where you visited earlier today. So they're not tied to any particular building. They're tied to a plumbing plumbing issue that could be anywhere in the district. This is the company we would use to support our own providing a repair for that particular need. So they're not building specific.
How does the board know that you did plumbing work last week, last year, 2 years ago? How does one know?
Every piece
so
of
that you're not spending money again on the same thing, something that was repaired last week or last year, or there's a place where you keep spending that kind of money on the roof over and over, and it's time to get a new roof. I mean, where do they go to get that type of information?
Sure. Every expenditure from a contractor that's utilized under the service contract that these were previously bid and awarded, a competitive bid process and awarded. Everything has a PO attached to it that is assigned to the specific piece of work that the contractor would do. So that and all that lines back up to the actual budget line where these contracts sit. So there's a number of checks and balances within the system, but that's the primary one, that nobody does any work without the purchase order and so forth being in place to kind of tie that together.
You all set, Dr. Jallo?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes, I had a question on 948 because I noticed that school 20 is listed on there.
Yes.
And can you explain that resolution and what we're doing at school 20?
Yes, absolutely. So so this is a contract award for this summer's capital improvement work. That we did not bring this forward with the previously. I think it was in one of the April board meetings when the capital projects were all brought forward. We held this back because we did not know whether or not we were going to utilize the building at that point. Once the decision has been made to have our students in the building, then this award can be made this particular contractor for the work that's scheduled to be done this summer. So we weren't going to do it unless we were going to have the building stay in our inventory. But now that we are, we can do that. And the main risk in that is if we don't have our students in the building, then we are not, excuse me, reimbursed on that particular project. So now that we have students in the building, we would receive reimbursement as well as our other capital projects.
Okay, but I thought, so can you refresh my memory? Are we closing school 20, or was that the one, I get school 20 and 25 mixed up, because I know one of the buildings got messed up, and we're not closing that school, but we're moving those students to another building.
Correct.
So is 20 the building in the northeast by school 9 that we're closing?
We're closing the school, but the building is remaining in our inventory as the new home for the North Star program. The previous school 25, we're closing the building but relocating the actual school. So these are obviously two different areas. You will see. So this is to do work for this upcoming summer. But for this building,
So
the school 20 building is maintaining.
How many students are in North Star again? Can you hear me? How many students are in North Star again that are going to be utilizing that building?
Right. I think, I believe about 133 will be there in the fall. We have our existing North Star students, and then we have students that we're bringing back from both these programs. So the total amount of classrooms will be about 14 or 15 classrooms needed for that program, starting in the fall of 2020.
So just one last comment, because when it was presented that North Star was going to be moving over there, it was stated that that building was selected because it already was equipped with the necessary classrooms it needed in terms of space.
Yes.
So I will not be voting on this resolution for this amount of money based on previous conversations, but it's not to say I don't support North Star moving into 20, but we were informed that 20 as a building was selected because it had adequate space and classroom sizes and wouldn't need that much modifications.
Right.
So to come back with a resolution tonight with over $2 million for renovations is kind of alarming.
Totally understand. The renovations that are listed do not do anything to expand classrooms or anything along those lines. It's all infrastructure work. We're only eligible by the city council ordinance to do health and safety infrastructure work as a whole. So none of this work is tied to the North Star program. None of this work is tied to making those classrooms ready for those students. All those classrooms are fully operational and ready for those students to move into. This is more infrastructure work that we need to do to continue to maintain the building. But not tied to the North Star program, nor to the readiness of the building to accept those North Star students.
Any other questions or comments regarding those educational facilities resolutions? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of resolutions 932 to 948 indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye to all except 948 is a nay for me.
Again, Madam Clerk, I'm just going to rely on you recording these votes. If there isn't,
I am all set, President White.
I'm sorry?
I am all set.
Okay, all right. Because I just to let you know, I don't hear a majority. So I don't know if it's my audio or what. I hear like 3, but so you're the clerk by law. If you hear the majority, if I just ask that you tell me if there's not a majority, okay? All right. Next, I need a motion to advance for conversation resolutions 949 through 953. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Been moved by Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second? I need a second, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Adams. Thank you. All right. Any questions or comments regarding these resolutions designated as other? Don't see any questions or comments. All those in favor of resolutions 949 through 953 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
May I just say something very quickly? President
Sure,
White?
absolutely.
I just wanted to say thank you to Martin L. Suter and Susan S. Suter for this donation. They donated $10,000 worth of equipment to our Edison Career and Tech High School. So just want to, and that was via the Rochester Area Community Foundation. So we thank them for that, but also to United Way as well for their contribution.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy, for pointing that out. We could not survive without the input of philanthropic organizations and folks who contribute their own resources. As a matter of fact, I got a call from Nydia today telling me that the United Way campaign was still going on and that she needed to make sure that I made my donation. So if she hasn't called you all or texted you all, she's on it. So yeah, the United Way and all of our organizations, you know, years ago, Rochester was known as the most philanthropic community in the nation. Dateline, NBC, reported that about Rochester. So I think we continue to still be a very generous community. Thank you, Commissioner Malloy, for pointing out some very generous individuals in our community. Unfinished business, there is none. New business, I don't think there is any either. I don't see anybody identifying anything. The next item on our agenda is executive session. And for those of you who are newbies, what that means is there are certain topics that as a Board of Education, we cannot and should not discuss in open session. Usually these things relate to personnel matters. Sometimes it relates to getting legal advice. And so the law requires or sometimes dictates to us that we go into executive session for that purpose. And so I need a motion from one of my colleagues to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a matter related to a particular employee. I heard from Commissioner LeBron. She's made that motion. Is there a second by Commissioner Malloy? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
You guys should know that I think there's one matter that relates to that we may have to come out of executive session and vote. So anybody interested in sticking around, please do so, because we may come out of executive session and have to vote on that, and you would be entitled to see that if you stay tuned. So if not, good night, God bless, and we'll see you at our next board meeting.
Carl's
Yes.
trying to talk, Van. Carl's trying to talk.
Carl?
I would suggest that the motion be revised to include the appointment of a particular corporation.
Okay. Yes.
As well as advice from counsel.
I think we referenced the advice of counsel, but would someone amend, Commissioner Malloy, do you have any opposition to amending your motion to go into executive session to not only include to discuss a particular person, but a particular corporation, and also to receive advice of counsel? Commissioner LeBron, do you have any opposition to that amendment?
No, I'll make the motion to make the amendment to include.
Okay,
Carl's
and
language.
is there a second to that amendment? Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. All those in favor of the amended motion to go into executive session, say aye.
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 Madam Clerk, are you recording these votes? Because we'll have to figure this out. Aye. I heard Commissioner Malloy.
President White, you know I'm recording the votes. I'm watching everything you do. I'm watching everything you say. I'm here for that.
No, I know. I realize that, but here's the complication. If people are hearing what I'm hearing, they're only hearing 2-3 votes. And I just don't want folks to think that we are conducting business and not getting the requisite majority. So I'll repeat what I said earlier on. Our clerk is recording those votes. And no matter what technology is telling you, she's making sure we have the requisite majority. And if we don't, she's going to let me know so that we don't pass something or move on without accurately recording where we're at in terms of board vote. All right, so we're going into executive session. We're going into executive session, and we'll find our way back here maybe in a little bit. Good night, everybody.